that screen there is actually what's live. Hey, everybody.
Hey. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's
Day of
Day.
love.
Look, I'm going to be hiding out over here, like hiding behind this camera.
Oh, yeah, that really does block your face.
It does. But we had to set the camera up a little different because we're doing the split canvas diptych date painting. So, I mean, we're not going to have this camera in the way like this all the time.
Nope, it's just today when we're doing a date night painting, which is when your painting stretches across two canvases. And I know some of you guys are going to be doing this yourself, which is totally cool and awesome. You can do that. And you, if you have a partner, then you can figure out who does the birds and who does the tree trunk. We decided on this one that I'm going to do the birds and Paul's going to do the tree trunk because I think you do better with trees. And sometimes your birds end up looking kind of portly. Just a little, but they're cute.
Speaking of birds, I think next year for Valentine's Day, maybe a birds and bees painting.
Oh, actually, Eric and I had already planned that out for the spring, so it may or may not be coming.
But
we'll
okay.
see. We'll see. So, we're here with GoBox. That's your monthly subscription box where we send you art projects. We've been doing this since September of 2019, so just a few months. And we've mainly been doing canvas paintings, but a lot of you who follow us know that we are switching it up, and we're going to be throwing in the occasional other fun project. Mm-hmm. Starting next month, March 2020, we're going to have a really cool duo set of wood paintings where one's koi and one's Mount Fuji, I think, and they go together. They look amazing. You can hang them like at an angle or up one on top of the other, or if you want to just kind of carry a theme throughout a certain room, they look great. I'm excited for that. And then we'll be, of course, offering watercolor coming in the upcoming months.
And you did share those new ones in the newsletter and also on the GoBox Facebook group, correct?
Yep.
All right.
So find us on Facebook. Is it just called the GoBox or just GoBox? I think it's just GoBox.
We actually need to figure out something different because I think the business page for the GoBox is confusing with the Facebook group that is also called
GoBox Art Crate.
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
well, we can talk about that.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. But we'll keep you notified on that as well. And I just think that, for me, it's confusing. I'm like, which one am I looking at right now? But anyway, happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's week. This is always a busy week in our household because Jenny's birthday was on Sunday.
Yep.
And mine was yesterday. And then we've got Valentine's Day.
So this is our week of cake and flowers. And neither of us really ever celebrate Valentine's Day because it kind of gets steamrollered by. Well, you have to buy me flowers.
It's a trap, I tell ya. It's a trap,
brother.
Anytime she says no, we don't have to do anything on Valentine's Day, it's like okay, I'm gonna go get some flowers right now.
No, really though, it does kind of get steamrollered by our birthdays, and we've always just said it's a Hallmark created holiday, and I always feel bad for friends I have that don't have someone that they, can be lovey-dovey with, but
you know what? We're here.
Yeah.
And you can spend your Valentine's Day with us.
Yes. Yep.
I even didn't wear a hat for the first time for a GoBox tonight.
It's because you just got your hair cut.
I did. It'd been a while.
So feel free, as we paint along, to throw out questions on our YouTube page. Paul is there to answer them when we're in the live format. You can pause us if you feel like we're going too quickly, and you can pause us and catch up. That's actually something I didn't know you could do on live stream until recently. And
I'm just gonna check and make sure it's streaming like we think it is.
Okay. I had my phone up and it was.
Okay. I trust us. So
today's painting is called Lovebirds, and I've got a little picture of it here. This came with your instructions in your box. And it's so cute. It's got the tree on one side with a little hole where the birds live, and then you can carve, or fake carve, your initials or whatever you want to do. I know in the original I did G+B. It was GoBox. So you can put whatever you want on there. You can put down with Valentine's Day if you want. And we're going to get started. I can't really think of anything else I need to talk about right now.
I got one thing.
All right.
Nothing major. We're trying a different microphone tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And if you guys find that the sound is better or worse than what you've experienced in the past, let us know. I do suspect that this microphone will pick up the dog walking in and out nails more than the other microphone, but overall sound should be better.
She's my Valentine.
In theory.
Hi, you're my Valentine.
And she's getting really old, and she just likes to be wherever Jenny is, so why stop her?
Exactly. Okay, so today we grabbed a bottle of wine from the studio, which is the Merkin Vineyards Shinola Orancia. It's an orange Malvasia Bianca wine, and we really like it. And that is sold at our studio. It is by the lead singer of Tool. It's his Maynard.
I can't remember his last name, but
Maynard. I know we had it down.
I'll look it up here in a bit. But
it's Maynard's Vineyard.
You guys may notice that we've got guitars hanging on the wall. I think actually my parents bought me my first guitar for my 15th birthday 30 years ago. And Tool is one of the first bands I listened to.
Now everybody knows how old you are.
Oh dear.
Okay, why don't you switch us
Did I say 30 years ago? I meant like 15 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Alright, let's get going on this painting.
Switch it to the view on here.
Let's do that.
I'll talk about, real quick, we'll get started in a minute. I want to just go over the supplies that came in your box. You have your little paint colors. And on this particular painting, we're using 6 colors. So we have bright red, which is just typical fire engine red, white and black, of course. Our craft yellow, and this one is new to you guys, is pool blue. And then this is a metallic gold paint. Mm-hmm. And the metallic gold paint we use for the bark on the tree, it works marvelously. And then I put a little more paint on our palette since we're both, well, it's 2 canvases, so this might be about what you need. I feel like maybe I put a little too much black on there, maybe a little bit too much white, but let's go ahead and let's talk about our brushes. We sell these triple brush kits on gobox.com, and these will get you through every painting we do. And yeah, we've got a 1 inch wide flat wash brush, number 8 bright, and the number 4 round. I really like the Simply Simmons line a lot. It's $12 for the triple pack. And let's go ahead.
So I'm gonna do something really quick while you do that. I'm gonna do my best impersonation of a roadie in a concert, and I'm gonna bring some more light to the table for the table.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at our screen and it's pretty dim. So you go ahead and get started. I'm gonna turn off this other camera. Boom. And you can get started talking. I'm gonna get some more light going, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna just toast myself.
Oh, jeez.
Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you guys. Happy painting. Let's rock through this together. I think it's a pretty easy painting. The birds will maybe be the most complicated part. The rest of it is pretty easy. So I'll just cheers with my paint water. Take a sip. And prepare to get started. So I always have a paper towel or a paint rag handy. Tonight I have both because I noticed my paint rag's getting a little covered with paint, so it's kind of stiff and the water doesn't really come out of the brushes onto the towel very easy, so I popped a paper towel on there. We're going to start with our 1 inch wide flat wash brush, and I always like to start with the brush a little bit damp. I find that it sort of loosens everything up, and it also just makes everything a little more flexible. And maybe would be the same meaning as loosening it up. But it also glues the bristles together a little bit. So I'm going to take my water cup and I just sort of lightly brush the brush across the bottom of the cup a couple times. And then I'm going to dry it on my towel.
That's better.
So you want it just slightly damp. And we're ready to roll. So the first thing we do in this painting, it's got a big sun that goes across both canvases, and then the sun rays sort of come out and it fades from this light yellow sun to kind of a watercolory blue sky. So first thing, I want to mix white and yellow. I'm not going to use straight yellow because it ends up being a little garish. I like more of a pastel yellow. So you're going to make something that kind of looks like lemon buttercream. And all of us will probably have slightly different shades of yellow. Mine may not even match that original, which is designed by myself and my employee Eric. We had fun painting that together. There we go. Felt like it was maybe a little too blonde. I'm going to make it a little more yellow. Okay, well, maybe a little more. I'm indecisive about this color.
Get with the program, Jenny.
This looks pretty good. So what I will do to make this easy working with a partner, which can sometimes be a little complicated. Sometimes it can be really easy. Sometimes your partner might be better at one thing and help you out, hopefully. But what I do is I'm going to start in the middle, and I just sort of tap out a quarter of a circle, and then Paul is going to pick up on his side and do the same thing. go to the middle of the canvas, Paul.
Middle of the canvas.
Yeah, so then they're kind of about the same size. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yours is maybe a little bit smaller than mine. And then we're just going to fill that in. I like to go outward, like, think of it like the sun rays bursting outward. That's my side. And then you can go beyond your line you tapped out just a little. You want to make sure that your partner is, if you're working with a partner, that you guys are kind of matching it up. It's been actually a long time since I've taught a date night painting. We have one going on in the studio tonight. It's really fun. Little camp scene. I feel like yours, I'm going to be the micromanagey wife here. There, I don't know.
What'd you do?
I just extended it out just a little bit more.
It's my side of the canvas. Let me express my own feelings.
No. Okay, so then we're just gonna lightly drag this yellow out. I have barely any paint on my brush.
Geez, so you were picking on me, and all we're gonna do is drag that color out now anyway?
Well, I just had to make yours right.
Can we move the palette?
Yes, we can. Very nice. So Paul and I teach some of the date nights classes together where he's on one canvas and I'm on the other, and we're up on the stage, and those are always pretty fun. I think we've taught the fox one. Yeah, we mainly when it's got two foxes.
The Portland chicken and rooster.
Oh yeah, that's fun. Yeah. Let's wash our brush off real quick.
Cha-cha-cha-cha.
And we're going to transition to blue, which most of you know that if you get blue and yellow together, you're going to make green. And green sometimes is kind of cool to have in the sky, but with this painting I didn't plan it to have much of any green in it. So the best way to avoid getting too much green, now you can have a little, it's okay, is to take your clean brush, dip it in a little bit of white, and then just do a band of white. So it's like you're kind of pulling this yellow into the white. Think of it like tie-dye. That's sort of what the whole background looks like. So the white is going to just be your little buffer, your little transition color. I didn't use very much paint at all, but you can see it made the edges really pale. We can always go back and clean up the sun area if you end up with funky little brush strokes in there, or maybe your white pulled up in there in a really weird way.
Up in here.
And now what I want to do...
Thanks for the courtesy chuckle.
You're welcome. That's what wives are for. Courtesy chuckles.
And eye rolls.
And eye rolls.
Eye rolls are plenty.
You matched it up pretty nicely, gotta say. Let's do a cheers to that.
Oh, we get to cheers finally.
Mm-hmm.
Where everybody knows your name. Oh, wait.
So now, while this is still wet, it might feel like we're going a little fast, but this part does work best with the canvas being a little bit wet. Feel free to pause us if you have to. I want to make a really pale pastel...
Ignore my arms. Sorry.
You're totally in the way.
I just realized I had the microphone pointing the right. Oh, there we go.
Great. Hopefully everybody could have heard us.
Hopefully.
So you had a long work week. We'll just say that. He made wood boards all day today.
I did. And yesterday.
And on his birthday. So now we're going to mix together white and blue to make a really pale pastel sky blue. So usually I'll just take some white, plop it down in a clean spot on the palette, and then use the corner of your brush to just pick up the tiniest little bit of blue.
Little bit of blue.
Yep. We want it to transition so that it doesn't turn too greenish. So there we go. Really pale. Like one of those days where it's kind of hazy out. You see a little blue sky. It's like that at the beach a lot. And now I'm going to overlap this white paint. So we're kind of pulling this whitish yellow outward away from the sun. Again, think of it like tie-dye because that's exactly what it's going to look like. And again, this is a transition color, so it's not going to be super loud and in your face. You can brush back and forth like I am if you want. My paint's already drying. I gotta see it from this angle. Got a funky glare until it dries. So your sun does not have to be a perfect sphere. It should kind of look like the way the sun would look if you try to look at it with your eyes with no sunglasses or anything on. You know, it's like very bright and you don't really see the edges of it too much. So that's kind of what it's gonna look like. I always call this like morning sun. Reminds me of like it's in the morning. So Paul's just kind of smoothing out the lines where the blue and white meet. Just going over those like you're...
Like a champ.
Like a champ.
Like a rock
I always
star.
like to compare it to makeup. It's like you're smoothing out blush on your face.
I have no idea.
You know how that goes.
Like. No idea.
You got too much liquid blush on. Or cream blush.
You don't even know the right terms.
It's because I don't use that product.
Hold on. I just feel like I need a little bit more blue. Oh, but we're going to be bringing more blue to the party.
Yeah,
anyway,
we are
so.
gradually going to be darkening out to where it's almost just straight pool blue. But not quite.
All right, just keep working.
Okay, so now I'm going to take that mix, which we have used it all. So I will make a little bit more. And let's pretend this is the same shade. Actually, I did a pretty good job with that.
Oh.
Let's go ahead and get some more blue in there. So this time you're getting closer to an actual true sky blue. What we had before was a little too light to be an actual sky blue, but this is pretty close. And I'm going to do the same thing. You're overlapping that wet paint. I'm just brushing back and forth. That seems to work really good for me. Maybe I'm going to do some longer brush strokes now. We're getting into the dark part of this tie-dye canvas. Darker. So you're always just kind of fanning everything outward. This helps sort of suggest the rays of the sun coming in here.
Yeah. That's what it does. Exactly.
I remember when we first started the company, Vingo, I guess it's 8.5 years ago now. It's crazy.
It's been a while.
We always would do that sun where it's round and you just gradually add colors to the outside, and then we noticed like every wine and paint studio has that.
And it's really
easy to do something different.
Yeah, and it's not to get too art snobby.
Brother, just pause him or put him on mute.
They can't. It's I think it's something that's so easy to not do.
Yeah.
And I think it adds a lot to the painting to not do it that way.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do either. And sometimes one works. Sometimes that whole old sip and paint studio sun and moon thing works really good that way still. So I just added a little more blue.
Of course, it's always like a comfort
to my
factor
color.
aspect.
It's a comfort factor for sure. And it just depends on what your overall idea of what your final piece what you want it to look like. I'm stumbling over words here.
Blah, blah, blah.
It's weird to do this on a Friday night. It's actually kind of fun. So here, maybe I'll take a little, just plain old pool blue, slash it in there. You see that? I got a nice streak going on. Sometimes the sky is all different shades. We had some pretty epic skies this past weekend. We rented a house for our birthdays in Yachats, which is kind of the central coast of Oregon.
Don't tell everybody.
Yeah, it's our secret little spot. We like it because it's a less touristy beach and feels more like a place you could live at. I mean, I could live at any of the beaches really, but Yachats, it feels like, it feels like home to me, I guess.
It does.
And we ended up finding Yachats because we did a pet painting party out there for a dog camp a couple years in a row, and we were like, where has this beach been our whole lives?
Best fish and chips on the Oregon coast, according to Oregon Live.
Yep,
and
Lunacy.
Lunacy, Luna space SEA. Most of the fish is actually caught by the owner's boat. There's a little plug. Next time we're down there, hit us up with
that is actually the very cool thing. You'd never use like frozen fish. They just bring in whatever they've caught that day. It's totally fresh. I see the owner driving around with this truck. I assume it's the owner. And it just is amazing. And they have awesome clam chowder. They have live music
almost
all
every night.
week long. And and it's just really a charming little place.
I love it.
The calories are totally worth it. Let's see. I'm going to stand up so I can kind of get an overall view here. Yeah, so we had a lot of really cool skies. On Sunday, I'll just jabber while I'm painting. I need to match my blue with yours. You've got a little more just dark in there.
It doesn't need to match.
Well, it shouldn't look like they're too different.
Well, I mean, they're painted by two different people.
I know, but I feel like I should bring some of this color in here, too.
I don't think so.
Don't argue with me.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm disagreeing vehemently.
Okay, so back to Yachts.
Oh, we're going back?
Yeah, because I was talking about the skies that were there.
Oh,
they
yeah,
were
for sure.
really amazing. And then on my birthday, on Sunday the 9th,
Now everybody knows when your birthday is.
There was, yay, send me presents. There was a full moon. It was called the snow moon. And we happened to wake up really early because our dogs were with us and they don't sleep very good on vacation. They had to go out for a walk. And Paul got me up and was like, you got to come see this. So I looked out. I came into the house we stayed at, had this amazing overlook the water and everything. And there's a giant moon out there. And it's reflecting on the ocean. It was the most gorgeous thing and the best birthday present ever.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I could have just let you sleep.
I know, right? So we did the dog walk, and then he and I got in the truck and let the kids sleep, and we went down to this little bay area that was about 5 minutes away, and we got crazy awesome pictures. Mm-hmm. We should post them somewhere, a link or something on.
Well, we can put them on the GoBox group.
Yeah, let's do that. The GoBox Art Crate on Facebook. Okay. So at this point, your paint is probably not 100% dry. It's kind of like at that tacky phase where you have some dry spots and some glossy spots. So sip your beverage. This is where you can go back and, if needed, you can clean up the sun area. I see Paul did that, so I feel now like I have to match it a little bit.
I kind of was not cleaning it up. I was just kind of like, it was...
You got a little green going on there.
I did, but I actually kind of like how it looks. It almost adds... Yeah. It's almost like a turquoisey kind of...
So I'll just sort of match up mine with his, and that's how it works with these date night paintings. Although we've had a lot of customers and students that come in and
really do
they're very different, and they like it that way, and I think that's really cool. For me, I probably have, well, I know I have a little bit of OCD, so I'm kind of like, it must match.
Yeah.
I'm working on that.
Just a bit.
So here we are. It looks great. Should be drying up nicely. So left side person, the person with the birds, you are going to be able to sit back and take a little break, take some sips, and...
Are you going to let me paint?
I'm going to let you paint, and
okay.
I'll just be the cheerleader for you.
Okay.
So I'll grab you the picture so you can see.
Yeah.
You're just going to do like, it's like a 4-inch wide tree trunk that goes from top to bottom. If anything, you guys can make it where it's a little wider at the bottom. Are we just doing pure
black on this?
Yeah, just straight black.
All right, let's do it.
You could mix gold with black if you wanted to, but I don't think there's a huge amount of gold.
And you lose the metallic.
You do.
When you mix it. All right, so I guess I'll take the wheel for a minute.
Go for it. I'm going to drink some wine and watch.
So one of the most difficult things about doing this type of a step in the painting process is you simply have to just take a deep breath and do it.
Yep.
And that sometimes is a little bit hard because we just spent a bunch of time making this nice little sky, and now.
And remember, you can pause this if you're still catching up.
Yeah.
I'll probably say that a bunch. Just to remind you.
Anyway, where I was going with this, we just got this all painted, and it's time now to actually paint over it. And sometimes that's an uncomfortable thing for people to do. So the best thing to do is just do it. Ugh, sorry, shoe company. All right, so I'm just going to take the big
there's
brush.
a little shoe company in Beaverton that uses that.
Yeah, but they gave us permission, though. Not really, but... And I'm just going to use the width of the brush.
He's just going to put a long strip of black electrical tape right across the middle.
Yep, just one brush stroke to start with. And the nice thing about this is kind of actually something that to me is kind of more difficult to do on a flat table like this versus on an easel. I think one of these days we'll figure out an easel system to film with. That'll be nice.
Now don't worry too if you've got the streaking of some of the sun colors in there. Sometimes those are accidental highlights that are just like, happy little accident.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt anything at all.
And if they aren't happy little accident, you just go back when it's dry and put some black over it.
So this brush that we use and that we sell through the website is 1 inch wide, so it's a good reference. We've got one brush thickness here. I'm going to go ahead and just do a second thickness to give myself 2 inches. I actually kind of like how that looks when it breaks up like that. But
you're doing a good job.
I know.
It looks like you're purposely doing tree bark, but
I am.
you're not.
It's
You're
all in the brush. All right. So there's 2, and you said it was 4 inches wide.
Thereabouts, kind of, sort of, maybe.
Oh, you're quoting me now.
What is it? Is that the term you always say? You say kind of, sort of? I don't know.
I say an inch wide, kind of.
You say something-ish.
Oh, an inch. Oh, yeah, that's what I said. An inch wide-ish, or so, kind of, maybe.
Yeah. So
it's really specific.
it's up to you guys.
I think with these canvases only being 11 inches wide, 4 inches might be a little bit overwhelming.
Well, it wasn't overwhelming on the original, Paul.
I'm more delicate than the original.
The other thing, too, your placement of your tree trunk. Let's say that you have this one spot on your sun that you just can't get it right or something. Just pop your tree right over that. It doesn't really matter exactly where it is, whether it's in the middle or more off to the side. You just work your branches in around wherever you place it.
I like that.
Yep, that looks good.
Now, oh well.
It's a bird.
It's a branch. I'm not.
Actually, let's show them how you can correct that.
Well, I will in just a second. Well, I want to talk about something.
But it'll dry. So this is what I do. I scrub on a little water when it's fresh paint, and you'll take your clean paper towel and you're welcome. Okay, I didn't really think about the fact that your blue paint is wet underneath.
Yeah, that would have been just a really easy place to just put a branch. So,
okay.
Anyway, what I was going to say is typically when you're doing a painting and you're doing a layout, you're not going to, if you're just doing a single canvas like this, you typically don't want to do something right smack in the middle. It just visually is not something that, from a composition standpoint, we try to avoid doing things like that right in the middle. But since this is 2 canvases, it's more like it's a third of the way. So that it works out good. But again, if it's a single canvas, you typically don't want to do something right smack in the middle like that.
The camera just made a noise.
It does that when it turns off.
Okay, so we're okay though because we're not doing the little picture-in-picture.
I turned that off a while.
Probably because
the camera turns off.
Well, and then there's not a lot of room on the screen.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. That too.
So you get to do some starter branches that
Sure.
I will continue. So here's your. Let's see. So you
okay.
That,
so
and you,
yeah. So one of the things that I like to talk about when I'm teaching branches is there's a couple different ways you can do them. I'm going to show you kind of both of the options. I have a way I like to do it. The other thing is there's a couple different brushes you can use to do it. The one thing that I find is typically awkward on paintings is when people really leave their branches short and fat, meaning they don't let them really crawl across the canvas and stretch out. So one of the ways I like to do, I'm going to start by doing a couple of main branches. It looks like we've got the main branch that the birds need to sit on is probably our most important branch, and the rest are all just kind of supporting cast members.
Yeah, so we would want to make sure that we don't put a branch that's going to cut off their heads.
Right. So I'm going to I'm looking at...
Sure, do you want that?
No, I'm going to use this coaster real quick. I'm going to kind of leave an area about
There we go.
There. I'm not going to... maybe I'll just leave it there so I can get a reference.
That's why we pay you the big bucks.
Yeah. Anyway, so what I like to do is there's a couple things. Number one, I like to kind of take my branch. I like to use the biggest brush usually if I can, because it holds more paint. I can see that in the instructions that we're using probably the number 8. But you can do it with either one. I'm going to show you both ways. But I like to kind of start at the bottom of my trunk and just kind of trace the edge a little bit and then let the branch come out. Now...
You're painting on my canvas!
Easy. Take it easy, alright?
Check with your partner to make sure that's okay.
Yeah. Or work together. Either way.
Yeah.
One of the things I like to point out when I'm teaching branches, though, too, is that tree branches tend to grow straight and then a little bend, straight, a little bend, straight, a little bend. They don't tend to grow real
ramen
curly. Yeah. So I tend to take the brush, let it bounce around, and I'm using this on edge and thin, and I'm just lifting the pressure so you can get a nice fine little branch that goes off to the end. And the way that breaks up at the end, I like that.
But I wanted to paint that branch.
Okay. You're being really difficult tonight. And I even did get you the flowers, so I don't know what's going on. So then the other thing what we can do is, if you look at the instructions would be be using the smaller brush.
Yeah, we kind of drew it out and filled it in.
You can do it that way.
Yeah, either way works.
But I'm just going to show you, kind of get the same basic idea. Just going to draw.
So they're always thicker where they grow out of the tree trunk and then get thinner out towards the end. Otherwise, the weight distribution would be really messed up and that branch would break right off. Yeah.
Now, if you need to use a smaller brush to
fill it in or
fill
clean
it in
up,
by all means. But I kind of like on these bigger, heavier brushes. I'm going to show you in just a second why I like using the bigger brush in particular for doing main branches. I'm going to go ahead and put this right back there so I remember.
So what he's doing with this is, and maybe you heard it already, he's just kind of saving that space for the bird so he doesn't accidentally paint over it.
Right, exactly. So one of the things I really like about using this bigger brush for doing branches, and I'm going to show it probably going, I'm going to do one that kind of cuts across up here.
Can you just do that at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks
like we have like 4 on your side.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter though. You guys can put as many or as little as you like.
What I like to do is, I like to start with the brush kind of following the tree and then amazingly branching off.
Curve it outward.
And this one we're going to let end right about like that. Now what I like to do with this big brush like this is I like to then kind of come back, and as I get closer to the tree, I just push down a little harder, and so I just get a gradually fatter trunk.
And then at any time you can take and you can like wrap this, spread your canvas apart and wrap this around the sides. It looks pretty cool that way, but I'm not going to do it, but I wanted to point that out. You can do that.
Absolutely. I'm looking at the instructions.
Yeah, so you have one branch going the other direction,
I'm looking at the instructions. Can you flip them over? See what's on the other side. Okay, I see what's going on. So that one was actually one that branches off. So I'm just going to go ahead. So when I'm doing a branch like this, I don't know if you do this, Jenny, but I kind of look like this particular branch right here, the way it comes across. It's because of the way it brushed in. I've got a little bump right here. I like that. And that's a real natural place to put a secondary little branch. So this is a good place to show the smaller brush. And I'm just going to go ahead. Again, I'm going to trace. And then just kind of let this go off. Let it integrate in. And that's how we start to find some natural places where branches want to be.
And they're always going to just sort of... I call it like it's like a Y shape, so it's it's kind of like a Y. They're never going to be like this sharp 90-degree angle usually.
Well, they should look like very like they're flowing with each other. The other thing is
flowing and growing.
What's going to look more appealing when a finished canvas is if they really go away from the main trunk. If you come back too much, it can get a little awkward looking. I'm going to go ahead and put another one on here. Again, I'm trying to avoid getting too curvy. And if you like curvy branches though, go for it. That's fine.
If you like a whimsical look.
Yeah.
And if you're painting the left canvas, the right partner doesn't have to do this.
No, you can work together.
My job. This should be my job, Paul.
Okay.
You're taking it.
You want to.
No, it's good actually because you're teaching the full follow through of the branches.
So you can really see on this left side that I just did, you can see how fine I let that branch get and how drawn out it is. And in fact, this branch right here even has a little spot where the brush just kind of didn't leave any paint. And I'm not against that. I actually kind of like it when that happens. This one I feel like needs to go all the way off. So little skips in the paint are fine. But I'm just going to leave those couple on that side. You can do another. I'm going to go ahead and do one or two on my side. And then the other thing I start looking for when we start looking for trees is we really try to avoid having trees that the branches are lined up with each other. Yeah, you might see that in nature, but visually when we're creating a painting, it's not as appealing to the eye if they're symmetrical with each other. So we're going to try to find a spot. I think I like that the original has it about 2/3 of the way up. So between the two branches.
We knew what we were doing.
So I kind of got a little...
You've got one of those that we call a WTF branch at first.
Well, when I first got
Remember,
started.
isn't that what we used to call it?
Yeah, and then we started calling it a Who's It.
A Who's It branch, because that sounded a little better.
Yeah.
Especially when there were kids in class. Like, let's call it something different.
Yeah. So I'm not going to worry about fixing this with a branch, but that would be... You could totally just do a little branch going across there.
Or now it's a ghost.
Yeah. Well, no, I'll just touch it up with wood.
I was thinking while you were doing this, this is a great technique to learn because in the fall, you can totally convert this painting to be a Halloween painting by using a kind of yellowish orange moon and then a sky that would be kind of fading from the moon, light gray out to dark gray. And then, of course, you do your, instead of doing red hearts on the branches.
Oh, those are hearts, aren't they?
Yeah, you'll do
orange pumpkins.
Like little orange. Oh, yeah, little jack-o'-lanterns would be fun, or just orange leafy shapes, kind of like our one Feathered Friends painting. If you use that technique that we did on there to make leaves, that would look really good.
So one thing I want to, before we get going too far,
make two bats on the tree.
Yeah, before we get going too far, one thing I do like to always point out is visually what looks good on a painting is to not have more than two branches at an intersection. I think you maybe kind of touched on that when you said it looks like a Y. Mm-hmm. Yes, sometimes you will see a tree that has three, or especially down if it's like a pear or a plum tree or something where the trunk comes up and then the main branches all kind of come out from more of a central area. But typically that's a hard thing to capture in a way that looks appealing.
Yeah.
So keeping it simple with just a split, is kind of our preferred route in the studio.
And you can branch off any of these little guys too. The more little twiggy things that you add, the more little heart leaves you're going to be able to add to this.
Yeah, I do feel
and
like
then
I want to put one
if
there.
you do end up using, most of you will likely end up using the smallest brush to kind of, like I'm using it to clean up the ends of some of these and add some more. I do mix water with my black paint. I thin it out to like the consistency of heavy cream or half and half. So it's not ever going to drip down off the canvas. It's not that thin. But what it will do is make a nice fluid line that where your brush isn't like running out of paint instantly and you're not ending up with like a lot of these broken lines, which, sorry, Paul, I just cleaned up your little broken line.
Watch as Jenny's OCD kicks in.
Hey, you painted on my canvas.
You told me to.
I did?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. You're right. I'm just joking. So I'm just adding a few more little branches that are veering off. And then this, I sort of think of this tree, because of the red blossoms with no leaves, I think of it being as more like a cherry blossom tree.
I noticed our plum tree's blooming.
Oh, really? That's kind of cool. Yeah, I guess it is the right time of year.
Yeah, I noticed it yesterday.
So anyway, a lot of the cherry blossom trees have real curly wood. So you can, do the occasional branch that's, a little more wavy if you want. So I'm just adding just some little twigs where it will allow me to put more blossoms on. And on that original, we do have a branch that comes in, like starts right here and kind of goes up. I'm actually going to leave that one off, and I think this is a good little spot for the birds. And then after I paint the birds on there, if I feel like, I really need something over their head, then I'll paint them on. But right now I feel like this is a little bit lower down from the top than the original painting was. So I feel like if I tucked a branch in here, it might get too crowded.
Yeah, you know what? For some reason, we only have half of the original.
I know, isn't that funny?
And so when I was looking over at the original, I didn't realize that those two that are above the birds are actually split from the one.
Yeah, so it's the right half of this painting, the original that Eric and I made, is totally AWOL. We can't find it anywhere. We can only find the bird half.
Which is weird.
It's really weird.
I'm pretty sure the dog ate it.
I think the dog would eat the one with the birds on it.
It's a stick.
Okay, so yeah, I'm going to put my birds here. So here I could add a few little playful little twigs.
fix the spot that Jenny fixed for me.
Oh, yes. You're welcome. I just did that on purpose, so then people could see how you fix things like that.
So the answer to that is your fix is going to be a lot bigger than you think.
I tried to make a little wavy thing going on here, and it didn't really look very good. Just
So just put a little branch coming off right there.
Yeah, like you did earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Boink. I usually will pull outward and away from the main tree branch, but every once in a while it works best with my brush to go inward. But then I feel like it leaves the end right here a little bulkier than I like it, because as you go outward you can just gently lift the pressure of your brush and you end up with these nice pointy ends. That's how we get those pointy ends. And it takes some practice, it takes some brain work too, and you just go through and you just sort of lightly lift the edges, or lift the pressure that you're putting on the brush, and then you get those pointy edges. All right. You've got some holes. There we go. Okay, let's see what...
Those were organic highlights that you just painted out. Thank you.
Those were speckles. They were lichens.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you are going to work next, Paul.
I thought I was.
Yes, you are going to... there is a hole in the tree, and that's where the birds live, I assume.
Okay.
And we have it's just like an oval, and the left side is just gold. And then later on we mix white with gold for the right side, so it looks like the sun is grabbing it. See that?
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
So you're going to draw just draw the oval first in metallic gold with the little brush.
Gotcha.
And then you're just going to streak the gold bark around it.
Got it.
And I'm going to watch.
Are you going to watch?
Yep.
All right, let me figure out a good place for this. So I think we've got a great place because we don't have the branches right here. And so, oh, that's a lot of paint.
So he just is using the metallic gold, just plain metallic gold on the little brush. There you go. There's going to be some skinny birds.
Well, I mean, the trees... Okay. The tree is kind of not the thickest tree. Well, the birds are closer anyway. Okay, so what's next?
So now you're going to streak gold up and down the tree trunk.
Gotcha.
Probably with your number 8 brush. And I think we do it we do some on the branches too. So I'll let you get started on the tree trunk.
Okay.
And then I'll take my brush and my side and put some on my branches.
So I'm actually going to use my biggest brush.
Okay. So this metallic gold we add on here, it gives the impression of bark.
Well, and I want to caution people when they use this too. Mm-hmm. Because depending on how the light is hitting your canvas and reflecting to your eye, it's really easy to overpaint this gold. Mm-hmm. Because it's
gold.
Yeah, well, it's...
We haven't had a glittery paint yet.
Sometimes it doesn't show up very prominently, and other times it does. So, let's see. Yeah, I think...
And if your tree is a little wet, it's not going to work super great. So you could just pause this real quick and blast it with a hairdryer, or wait about 5 minutes or so. Take a little break.
I think the key to this is really being very loose and not so rigid. So speaking of loose and not so rigid, I could use another splash of wine, please.
Do you need to get drunk and paint? Is that what you're saying?
No. No.
I taught in the studio. No, when we were on vacation the other day, I remember talking about it in the studio. But when we were on vacation last week, I was doing a lot of watercolors because they're easy to travel with, and I totally washed my brush and my coffee.
Yeah, you did. So one thing that I like to do when I'm doing a tree and we've got a big knot hole in it is usually this is where a branch was growing at one point in time. It's fallen out, it's broken, and it's rotted out. And but it almost is like eyelids in a way, where the bark has grown around the knot hole. And so I kind of like to do that. I've got a little bit of wet black, but not too much.
Or a woodpecker came through and
Yeah. Well, we've kind of got a knot
broke it all out.
But the other thing is you can kind of do the same thing around our other branches.
Mm-hmm.
Again.
Your towel.
Yeah. Well, I'm only got.
Okay. Got it.
The nice thing about doing this is, as I did say, it's really easy to overpaint the gold. But if you do, big deal. You're painting over black.
Yeah, just paint black over it if you get too much gold. And it is this particular gold is it's transparent, so it's not really, it would take a lot to get it to be too, like, it's never going to look like you put gold leaf on it.
Right, but it can definitely at times when the light hits it right, it can be a little overwhelming too.
It is really cool though when you hold it under a certain light and tilt it a little bit, it's like it'll disappear and then suddenly you'll see it again. I noticed that when we use it on highlights on beaches, in particular, people have a tendency, because usually we're painting over a lighter tone, and people really put a lot of it on, and they're like, I just don't see any of the gold, and then all of a sudden it's like the whole thing is gold. Yeah, there is no other color left, and that can be neat. All right, so I think that's probably pretty good, yeah? Yep, now I'm going to start putting some gold highlights on my branches. Now, we don't do any of these little ones because what will happen is these will actually end up disappearing because the gold is light enough that they don't really totally disappear, but they become way less noticeable. So if you want one of these to disappear, if you had one that didn't turn out quite like how you wanted it to, you could highlight it with gold, and that's kind of a little way to hide it, like a little painter's Band-Aid. But I'm, for the most part, going to be putting the gold on the larger part of the branches. Now, I think of it like, okay, here's our light source. So it's going to be glancing off the top edge along here. And that's where I'm going to concentrate on.
You concentrate? No way.
That was rude.
Payback. That wasn't rude. What are you talking about?
That was totally rude.
It was not.
Okay, so there we go. I just kind of got this little highlight along the top edge. Not even going to worry, unless you have like thicker twigs down here. That's a great way to you kind of give it the illusion that you've thinned it out a little bit. But for the most part, I'm just going to, I'm going to paint down here so I match it up. I'm going to meet up with your trunk there.
How you doing, trunk?
And then right here, just gonna go part way up here. Top edge of the branch for the most part. These are kind of small, so it's not exactly, you might end up highlighting your whole branch, not a biggie.
Again, you can always come back over.
Yep, black paint right over it.
I don't like that.
Put a flower over it later.
Yep. Bingo.
So you are going to use gold and white, Paul.
Okay.
And you're going to highlight just the right side of the hole here, because then it's going to look like the sun is just what it gives it, that kind of like three-dimensional look, I guess.
Gotcha.
So he'll do that. He's using his number 8 brush. You can also use your smallest brush. And he's just mixing gold and white just to get kind of a beigey color. Like an off-white.
Oh, he's going to check the amount of salt.
The amount of salt.
Yep, I'm going to use the smallest brush.
What did you use the other day? You did an analogy.
Soup. Making soup.
Okay, so how does that speak that analogy?
So anytime...
Speak it.
Ah, you're right in my ear. Anytime you're adding a new color to the canvas, and maybe it's a color you haven't used before, you want to kind of test and see what's going on. And the analogy I used is it's like when you're making soup or a pasta sauce. I like the pasta sauce is a good one. You never just throw a handful of salt into it. You taste it, add a little bit of salt, taste it again, and if you need to add more salt, then you add more salt. If you don't need to add more salt, then you don't. But the big issue is you don't want to throw too much in and then have to try to fix the batch of soup or sauce.
I think we should write a book, a little coffee table book of your paint analogies.
There's been a lot of them over
Paul's
the years.
little book.
Paul's book of analogies. That would be interesting.
Because you've used the same, describing the same thing, you've used the chips and salsa. Like
chips and salsa is a good one, too.
Like, you've gone to a Mexican restaurant you've never been at, you don't know how spicy their salsa is, so you're not going to, like, gouge out a huge amount with your chip. You're going to sort of test the waters first.
I felt like that area needed to dry a little bit more before we actually did this process, but I think we got it.
So yeah, what this does is kind of just shows that, oh, the sun's highlighting this part, and you see, like, instead of just, like, this black whole center, like you've pasted a piece of paper in black over there, it suddenly looks a little more three-dimensional. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, if you're doing the Halloween painting that I talked about earlier, you just paint an eyeball in there. Or an owl or a bat. So you guys have a bonus project to do come fall, and start working on it, like, in August, because... You know what happens once August gets here, suddenly it's Christmas, and then we're in February teaching Valentine's.
It's Christmas already?
Then we're in February teaching Valentine's paintings. Okay, so if you guys did the Feathered Friends painting, you kind of saw how we did the birds. These are the exact same shape of birds. And I know on the paperwork that comes with the instructions, they're sort of drawn out where it looks like, you know, I've done the whole outline. But really, to make it easier for you guys, the best way to do it is to break it down into shapes. If you feel confident to just sketch out, you know, the overall outside of the bird, maybe you're to that painting level already, go for it. You can use a pencil first if you want. I'm going to go for it with just paint, but keep in mind that if you want, you can grab a pencil, just use it really light in case you have to erase, and do exactly what I'm doing, but with pencil. So my first thing is sometimes I draw the head first, and sometimes in the past I've made it too far up, so then it's like suddenly the bird has this really long body, which some birds do. So what I've been doing now is kind of keeping a little bit closer to the branch. So I would put the head probably no more than about 2 inches from here to the bottom edge of the head. I'm just going to circle up like that. So I'm going to take a little black paint, probably water it down just a tiny bit. If you don't want to use kind of a non-committal color, you could use the metallic gold, because that's easy to just blend right back into the background. Or to make it very easy on yourself with low stress, use a pencil. So here I go. I'm going to make the bird that's facing this way first, and I feel like she's a sweet little thing. I feel like that's a little petite girl. And I'm going to just do a circle head. This one I'm drawing right now is... It's not quite as big as a ping pong ball, but it's a little bit larger than those large glass marbles.
What variety of birds are these?
To me, they look like they're little, like, finches. Chickadees, maybe? I don't know. What do you think?
I think they're
see them over there.
Most similar to a chickadee.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've got the circular head, and then the body is really... I try to make the neck sort of come down like that, and then it's gonna go out, so it almost looks like I'm starting to make like a funny little doll, like one of those Russian stacking dolls. But then the back, their wings kind of bump out a bit and come down. She's got a little belly. That's cute. And then the tails are pretty easy. It's going to cross over the branch and come down to some little pointy feather shapes. So it looks funny right now, but when it's filled in with color, it will look a lot better. And then what I do is I'll probably put their beaks on later so I can make sure their beaks are pointing to each other. So before I color her in, I'll go ahead and, while I'm in sketch mode, I'm going to sketch out her little companion bird here. And the other bird is handing a flower over. Where's that? Can you hand me that real quick? A peace offering for Valentine's Day. So they're really close to the same size. I feel like maybe this one ended up being a little bit bigger, but I don't know that I intended that. And yeah, let's draw that one. You want to take that back? Mm-hmm. Okay, so this head, I'll just try to kind of line it up with the other one, maybe make it a little bit higher up, just a fraction. And I just sort of sketch a circular shape. If you're doing this with the brush and paint, just occasionally thin down your paint with a little bit of water. And then I'll do his back first. He's sort of got the wing hunched out there. Oh, that's funny. What are you doing?
Just wait.
Okay. And then I'm just going to give him the belly too, and then his tail crosses down. So he looks a little more sinister, I think, because of the hunched posture.
How you doing?
He's a little
lady.
unsure.
It's a ladybird.
Maybe he got in trouble, and so he's like sheepish. Okay, so that is a good way to just kind of sketch their outlines. Now I'm going to fill them in. I'm going to use my number 8 brush because it's a little bigger. If you fill in with that little tiny brush, it takes quite a while. Then we just fill them in solid. This is where I could kind of smooth out where the transition where the head and neck come together. If you have where it looks like just a ball sitting on top of a other shape, then you'll want to make sure you smooth the neck out a little bit. Because they don't really have pencil necks. Their necks are fairly thick. And this is where, too, you better not get paint on your new shirt, Paul.
I'm not. You're going to be the one that gets it on there.
It's because you put the palette way over there.
Well, I couldn't paint with it on top.
He got a brand new shirt for his birthday from his sister.
I did.
And he really likes it, and I was surprised to see you put it on tonight.
I don't
for
typically
painting.
get paint on myself on my shirt.
Now, because you said that, you're going to. Okay, so then, like her, I'll just smooth out her neck, too. They're like the beakless birds right now. But they are vaguely bird-shaped. They look a little better once you fill them in. And we add some, feathery colors, like a little yellow and whatnot. But when we do that, if you want to use blue or even mix blue and yellow and do green, these birds, they don't have to exist in nature. This is your little special world here. They can be made up birds. So if you need to clean up anything, like his neck kind of curves in a lot here. If I wanted to just clean that up a little bit, I would use the tiny brush. And I do wait till now to put the beaks on because that way I can make them facing each other. So, if I put the beak on this one first and it ended up pointing up here and he's like pointing straight out here, it doesn't look quite like doesn't really look like they're looking at each other. It would look like she's ignoring the other bird. So the beaks, I start with a straight line because it's really easy to end up making a duck. It happens all the time. You just like overcommit right away. And so I just start with a straight line and I'll do one on this bird so they're pointed together. So they just look like they have needle beaks. And then I'm just going to thicken up the edge where it meets the face. So it's kind of a triangular shape, but real pointy on the end. They have these tiny little beaks, and you can gradually add, a little more paint if you need to thicken it up more. Just try to avoid the duck look. And what have you done there?
Hungry baby birds.
Oh, gosh. It's like, is he painting it on fire?
I'm not done yet.
Well, the parents should look a lot more exasperated then, with ruffled feathers.
Nope, they're out on a date night.
The baby birds are at home on their cell phones calling mom and dad. When are you gonna be home?
Where's my cheese sticks?
Where's my cheese sticks? So we're gonna get ready to do all the cute little heart leaves or blossoms, whatever you want to call them. Before I do that, I'm going to put the little twig that goes in Mr. Bird's mouth. So we'll bring the original over. Point out a couple things on here. Or it could be Mrs. Bird. Doesn't matter. Whatever you want it to be. So this is the original one here. And it's just a little twig, like one of these short little ones that has been broken off. And so I'm just going to do a line it's probably about 1 inch long. And you can go from the sky down, or you can go from down here and up. And then we'll start doing all these cute little hearts. And while you're looking at this, I'll point out you don't always have to do a full heart. You can do like a half a heart. You can do a broken heart. But they are, and they're the hearts, like they're not just on the ends of every twig. They're also like occasionally there's some that just come right out of a branch. Because that's how the flowers work. There's lots of little twigs and things that we don't necessarily see. So you can put those little hearts anywhere you want. They can be facing different directions. They can be floating in the air, like the wind has come and blown them off. And so I'll go ahead and do that little twig now. So yeah, if you're painting on the right half, like Paul, and you're just kind of sitting there.
Paint baby birds.
Paint baby birds. You could paint the initials in, or
yeah, that's right.
If you wanted to do a little bird over here, like maybe they're a baby bird over here or something. You've watched me instruct it here, so you kind of know how to do it. Maybe have it facing this way. If it's facing this way, it's like pouting. And here we go. I'm going to do the little twig. I'll just go from the beak down. I'm very light pressure here. I want it to be pretty thin, so I'm just pressing really, really lightly. And it's probably, like I said, about an inch long. It could be a little longer. And now we are going to paint lots and lots of hearts. And you have hearts on your side too, Paul.
I do.
Let's see, where's that original image?
I don't know, you keep throwing it at me.
Let's put it up here. Okay, so most of the heart blossoms are on the bird side. But if you have lots of branches on this side, like Paul does, load it up because it's just going to balance out the red over here and make it look really nice. So let's go ahead and do that. Probably your littlest brush. And if you want to do pink, you can mix white and red. If you want to do a combination of some pink blossoms and some red blossoms, that's a very, very cute way to do it. I'm not going to start with the one here because this little twig I painted is probably still a little bit wet. But I'll just do a simple one right here. Just a little heart that I'll fill in. I can do a pink one to show you. I mixed a little white with some red to make sort of a raspberry smoothie color. And here, I'll just do oh, that makes a nice pink. I like that. So if you're doing multiple colors, then just paint several in one color. So you're not like constantly washing your brush and changing colors. And then switch to the other color. These are about the size of 2 jelly bellies right next to each other, forming a heart. Or those Bean Boozled kind. That would be the ultimate Valentine's gift if I got, because Paul loves jelly bellies. And I could just fill a mason jar with them, but also tuck Bean Boozled ones in there. So you get like the occasional dirt and grass.
I don't like that idea at all.
Maybe April Fools.
Now you've spilled the beans. Beans.
Dun dun dun. So I'm doing a few pink ones. What's another color we can make? We can mix red and pool blue and see what kind of purple you get. You can mix white with that to make it more lavender.
The red and pool blue probably is not going to work very well.
Yeah, I don't remember.
This red doesn't mix great with blue.
It kind of, the pool blue, because it already has like, yeah, it makes it kind of, it's a kind of a muted, that's mauve. I like that. Actually, that's really pretty. What you talking about, Willis? It's pretty.
It just doesn't stand out much.
No, it's not going to be like red for sure. So I'll just tuck some red ones in here.
You could do yellow added to it. Although I don't like the way this red and yellow mix together. They're kind of a dull color.
Yeah, it makes like, it's kind of coral, but it's like a dull coral.
It's coral.
And you can make some of these overlapping. Like, let's do a red heart here. Overlapping the pink one. That's cute. Doesn't matter where you start on the canvas. I just started way over here because it's right by me and convenient. Thinking about it now, I probably should have started up here because I'm going to be reaching over wet paint, which means my sleeve will probably drag into it. So maybe I will just head that off, even though I'm wearing a red shirt, red paint. And then, like I said earlier, you could do a little half heart. Maybe the other side hasn't bloomed yet, or it's on the other side, facing away from us. They don't all have to be the exact size. I know that I have kind of made mine all the exact same size, but you can make a definite size variation and be totally fine. I'll do a little overlapping one here. Yours look like they're like little heart balloons taking off.
Yeah.
It is funny. That's actually one of the most fun things for me to see with the date night paintings when we teach them in the studio. Like the way you paint hearts is completely different than the way I paint them. And like yours are kind of all like, they look like they're starting to float off and float up from, it's really funny that we do them so different.
Must be some kind of major malfunction in my brain.
Well, I probably started drawing hearts when I was really young. 'Cause, you know, us girls, we were always drawing hearts and bubble letters. Did you ever write bubble letters or block letters? That was like a big thing when I was like in
the 3D, like doing the 3D
yeah.
ones. Yeah, totally.
Like 7th grade.
So this is something that for some reason my brain is not processing very well.
I found his weakness, everyone.
It's like it just
It
doesn't
hurts.
It's hard. It just is not.
Hearts are hard.
It's not that. I mean, I'm doing fine with the shapes. It's the placement of them
Is your kryptonite?
Yeah, it might be.
I finally found it.
But I did do baby birds, and I'm not sure I love the baby birds. I might paint them out.
You know what I thought you were doing at first? I thought you were doing, because we were like talking about Lord of the Rings so much recently, I thought you were doing like the Eye of Sauron. I was like, oh no. That's interesting.
That's a good idea.
That's interesting.
Let's do it.
Now he's thinking about, well, we can put one right here, between here.
No, I'm going to paint the baby birds out. I don't like
See,
them.
now I got on your side of the canvas and I made a weird heart.
It's the canvas, I'm telling you.
You're stuck in a weird vortex over there.
I literally just, I don't know. I guess it's because I'm used to painting flowers, which in theory these are flowers, but by baby birds. The
babysitter has come.
the taxonomy of how they grow is skipping my brain.
Taxonomy.
I think that's a word. Baby birds. Now I gotta look it up.
Taxonomy?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the right word.
That's a nerd word.
Nerd word.
So, remember I was saying earlier, you can definitely do the occasional little one that's blown off. The wind is catching it and blowing this sweet little Valentine off to somebody else.
It's totally the wrong word.
What does taxonomy mean?
The branch of science concerned with classification, especially of organisms and systematics. Well, systematics, that could be...
No, I know. You just throw random big words out there.
I'm
going to put Google Translate on you.
Wait. I might be right.
Look how hard he works to prove him that he's right. There's a meme about that I need to send you. I saw it once and I was like, that's totally Paul. When your Google search proves you're right. That's what it was.
You did send that to me already once.
The smug look on your face when your Google search proves that you're right.
So taxonomy is the way they identify what flowers are by the...
So you were technically correct.
That was kind of close.
Whatever. Okay, so I've got enough hearts going on here, and you probably feel like you have enough hearts because you don't seem like you're really excited about painting them. But I do want to put...
It's not that I'm not excited
a sweet
about
little
painting
heart
them.
here, and it can be... I'd start it kind of small because the birds are small, and...
I think what I need is buds.
That's cute. We need a little Cupid in the background with a bow and arrow.
Challenge accepted. No.
Yeah, so in our date night classes, you know how I was saying earlier that I thought he was painting the Eye of Sauron in here. That happens so often in the date night classes. And kudos to the ladies. It's usually the guys doing it. And
Not
the ladies
always.
are so great about it. They just, like, my husband was dragged here, and I'm just going to let him do what he wants. So we've ended up with, like, this really pretty side, and then the guy's got this really pretty side, and there's a moon on there, and he just can't help himself, and he turns it into the Death Star. Which, I don't think that's a bad thing.
I think publicly they say they're very patient, but I think once things get in the car, it might be a little different.
I can't believe you did that. I have to go buy some white paint. Yeah, we had an artist come in once and did one of our Multnomah Falls painting, and it was beautiful. Like, it was so good, so amazing. And because he knew what he was doing, he got it done right away. I was just kind of sitting there bored and just added just really strange things, like a giant gnome in the front of his Multnomah Falls painting. That was pretty funny. I do like it when people do that. It adds a little fun interest to it. Okay. Oh, we're going to outline the eyes in gold on the birds. So that's what point we're at. We're at step 12. And we're going to add yellow chests and bands around the neck of the birds. And then some yellow highlights on the tails. So, just looking at my picture here in my original. So for the eyes, they're very small. It's really easy to end up with these huge eyes. And then what I do a lot of times is, you can see my bristles are a little split out just from painting with it. So I'll just kind of pinch them together. In fact, if you dip it in the water, just blot it dry a little bit and then pinch them together. You don't really want your brush wet, but you don't want it dry either. Somewhere in between. So now I've got a little pointy end. And I'm just going to poke the very end of those bristles into the gold and pick up the tiniest little nick of gold on the end. Because you really don't want a glob of paint here. Just the tiniest amount. And then I'll just draw... I would tell people, like, if I was teaching in class, I'd say, we're going to paint a little gold bubble here. So it's just a tiny little gold loop. Or hoop. Or donut. Whatever helps you visualize it. And then this guy will get one too. And if you want, it's not in the original, but you could highlight the top of the beaks with a little of this gold. Like the sun's just glinting off the top of them. We're going to let the eyes be a little bit. One thing about the eyes, if your gold loop ends up being too thick, I could come in with black in the middle and just paint a little bit bigger black circle in the middle so that thins out the outline of the gold. And I'll let that dry. And I'll work on the bird's chest and neck feathers. So yeah, these are like some kind of little chickadee or something. I'll take yellow, but you could use any color. I think I was telling you earlier, you can mix blue and yellow and make green. You could do, they don't have to be the exact same color of bird. You could put the lavender purple on. You could do blue. You could mix white and blue and make a sky blue. But I'll go ahead and do like the original just to keep from offering you guys way too many different things. And first what I'm going to do is I'll paint down the front edge of the stomach. Just go with the curve of the stomach. My brush strokes match that front curve of the stomach. And then somewhere here, like this black area will be the wing. And then I'll take and brush a little yellow highlight on the tail. But I leave the tail mainly black outlined. And then I'm going to take and they have this kind of stripe. And my brush strokes are just a little dabbing. And I'll blend the rest of that in down here. So it's like she has a little bib on. Or apron. And then how about I'll change it up. And just to be different, I'm going to make green. It's a very vivid green because of the shade of this turquoise blue. If it was a dark, like more primary blue, we'd end up with a more natural color. But maybe what I'm thinking here is like, you know, the hummingbirds, they have that kind of iridescent greenish.
Oof.
What?
That would be really hard to replicate.
Oh yeah, well I'm not doing that, but this is just a lime green. This bird does not exist in nature, but in my painting, it's gonna exist. So Paul is carving the letters in here. And I think on the instructions it says to use the gold and white mixed together. So what color did you use? You did pink or something?
I added a little bit of pink to it too. I just thought it would be cuter.
That is
I had to redeem myself on the hearts.
You should put a little heart on it. Wait, maybe I should do that.
Oh, I can do the heart. See, I had no problem doing heart shapes.
Yeah, you did.
It's just understanding the placement of them was just messing with my head. Like totally tripping out, bro.
So by doing this curved color on the stomach, then I'm sort of end up being left with this black shape, which I think of being the wing shape. And then across the neck, a little feathery necklace. Just blend that into the stomach area here. And if you need to come back and correct anything with black, like if something got out of control and you don't like the way it looks, maybe you don't want that little ring around the neck.
My hearts kind of remind me of that little red dude from Looney Tunes.
Take a little black and thin it out.
You remember that guy?
Who does it remind you of?
He was that red monster guy from Looney Tunes.
He was like the blood drop thing. That's what he looked like, a giant blood drop.
He was just like hair and feet.
That was a weird character. I totally forgot about that guy. Now we're going to have to Google it and see who it was.
Yeah, I think he was literally just called the monster.
So Paul's adding little white highlights on his hearts.
Gotta redeem them somehow.
Like if I wanted to do that and match mine up, I could do it, but I'm kind of lazy.
You don't have to.
I'm lazy, so I'm not going to.
You can express yourself.
But I am going to add a white shine to the bird's eyes. It's real tiny. And on the original, we had sort of a carved heart. Like we just kind of dotted it out, like dash lines. And then had the initials in there. And you can do that if you want, or you can do just the initials like Paul did.
I don't know that we should be encouraging carving into trees.
No, we don't want you to go carve into trees.
Don't carve a real tree. Just do it on your painting because...
Just do it on your painting.
It's not good for the trees.
No, it can be very harmful for them. So I'm going to take and do the white, little tiny white highlight in the bird eye. And just like when I did the gold outline, I'm going to, sort of twist my brush bristles together and get them to sort of glue together as much as they can. These have been used a lot, this particular brush, so it's kind of starting to have its own mind. And so I'm going to just dip the very tip of those bristles, pick up the tiniest little dot of white that I can. If you end up with too much on there, just dab it on your little towel a couple times. And I'll do just a little white dot in the front edge of each eye. If you have room to do two, like diagonal, do one back diagonal. I don't really have room for that, so I'm going to leave it as it is. One thing, like I could add some white. Oh, I like that. I'm going to add a little white on her. I don't have enough paint. Little white feathers on her, maybe. Little white feathers on this one, maybe. Just to keep it so that, to add different color. It kind of looks like highlights now, which is cool. I could add gold highlight, down on the top of the head, like the sun is glinting off, and adding this little nice gold sheen. Or this painting went fast, so we're just kind of playing around here. Let's take a little gold. Let's add some wing highlight in gold. I could brush gold over this green, and that would be really pretty because you'll still see the... This is so weird, like crossing over. Every time I'm reaching for the paint, you're like painting on your canvas, so it's bizarre. I'm having to cross under you. So I'm brushing a little light bit of gold over the green chest here, and that makes it really pretty. Almost that iridescent color I was talking about, but it also kind of turns it back to where it's looking like the yellow color. Well, they're super cute. This is where you can play around, give them a little tuxedo bow and a little tuxedo hat. You know what? I'm going to do that. We're just having fun. You're technically done. You can sign your painting whenever...
Whoa, we're done already?
Yeah. You can sign your painting whenever you feel like you want to be done. But I am going to just show you, if you want, to add a top hat to one of these.
Ooh.
It's fun and easy.
Maybe a tie, too.
Yeah, I think I'll do
a little red tie.
They're out for fancy dinner. So
and she could have like a
pearl necklace. Yeah. We're now on the same page. So for a top hat, I match the angle of the head, and I'm going to do a thin rectangle. So you see how I'm matching the angle of the head?
You're straying from the instructions.
It feels good.
I know, that's what I've been trying to tell you.
I do this in the studio on stage because then I can kind of feel people out. But when people are just watching on YouTube, I can't feel you guys out. So if you hate it, I'm sorry.
It's real simple. Just don't do it.
If you hate it, just sign your painting right now and be done with it. Turn us off.
Oh, good.
So he's got this little flat, looks like he has a brick on his head. But I'm going to turn that into a top hat. And I like to do my top hats kind of Mad Hatter style. So I'll do this thing where I sort of curve them in on each side. And a little curve on the top here. And it looks like a Mad Hatter top hat. It's almost a little too tall. So what I do in that case is bring...
No, it's perfect.
Okay. I just made the little hat brim part a little...
Oh, the brim's a little tall.
Shush!
Man, shut it!
I don't need your commentary.
You know what, though? You could do a highlight on it that scoops down so it looks different.
Yeah, let me just sort of clean this up here. Okay, so then the little bow tie, I'm going to sort of put it off to the side a bit so it doesn't look like just half a bow tie, because then I think it would look really strange and it'd be hard to figure out what it is. So I do a circle and then 2 triangles on each side. This will maybe extend out beyond here. Oh, he's so dapper. And then for her, we talked about doing a white pearl necklace. If you use the handle of your little brush and poke, just like we do stars, poke it into the white, and then just do a row of dots. Oh, they're precious.
We can name them Jack and Rose.
But you put P and J on here. Pack and Joe's.
All I gotta do is add an R. Add the leg for the R. Rose and Jack.
You're right.
Not going to, but I could. Maybe have a door, like, just floating in the sky. It was Jack's door. It was Rose's door.
She needs a wine glass. I think it's fun.
Actually, if it was a real couple, she'd be rolling her eyes.
I could make that. That'll be in the extended class.
Yeah.
So that's it. Paul, let's sign hers. You sign your half, I'll sign my half. Pick a color. Let's see, I'm going to sign mine in blue.
Sign my blue canvas in blue.
I actually do like the white, the idea of white or pink. Maybe I'll do pink. Sign it in blue. And whenever I am signing, I add a drop of water to the paint to make it more fluid. And I'll just do my little initials. And then our little fancy date night Valentine's painting is done.
Yeah. We're all done.
We're all done.
So, if you happen to just stumble upon this whole process and you enjoyed what you saw, make sure to subscribe to our channel. You'll get to check out all of our free videos, including some, hopefully, as we're heading into the slower time of season, some more instructional videos. I think our goal is to, within pretty soon, have at least one video a week.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes, because we also are working on maybe doing a podcast pretty soon too. So, because we're
not busy enough.
No, we're not busy enough. But if you, just let me get the camera going so we can actually talk to the camera, and I'm gonna get this other camera out of the way.
So it's gobox.com, and that's spelled like Van Gogh, G-O-G-H, box.com. And we have this monthly subscription box. It's $35 a month. Includes your art supplies, the printed out instruction sheets that are in full color, and all the paint, canvas, and one of our little collectible coasters, which if you're local, it has a little drink coupon on the back. So when you guys get these in your box, I know a lot of you guys are local and come into the studio as well.
Everybody's staring at our floor right now.
Oh boy.
Sorry about that. Seemed like a good idea.
There's a stack of canvas over there. What did you do? So
there
anyway,
there we are.
GoBox.com. We sell the brushes, the palettes, and the subscription boxes. And we sell individual projects. So if you want to do a project but not commit to a whole subscription, you can buy the individual projects. Which, how much are they for? Like 20? 20
the individual products were at $20 plus shipping.
Okay.
So it's definitely cheaper to get the subscription.
Yeah, better deal, for sure.
You're at $35 for 2 projects, which includes shipping, versus $20.
We'll take care of that for you.
Although we'd prefer to see that you're taking care of your own self. You know, this is really not just... I think a painting is more than just I'm creating a subject here or I'm creating a piece of art. It's
about
really
the good feels that it brings. Like, this was really good. We had kind of a stressful day. We had to run around and Paul had to build all those boards for tonight's class at Solid, which we had to bring him over. And this was really fun for us, and it's nice and relaxing, and you do feel good afterwards, even if you don't love your painting. In fact, there was an article floating around on Facebook that talked about how even if you don't love your art, the act of doing it is so good for you.
Oh, creating things heals your soul.
Yeah, so we hope that you will do that and make time for yourself. Take some me time. Get your kids involved if you trust them enough to paint.
Oh, always trust them enough to paint. Yeah.
Well, depending on where you're painting in your house.
Well, you guys got to make sure you've made arrangements for the child too.
Yes, but if the child is like 2, I probably wouldn't put him on this project.
No, definitely not. Plastic drop cloth, some paper, and some finger paint, and let them just knock themselves out. Well, not really knock themselves out. That wouldn't be good. Yeah. But, you know, go to... No, you don't want to let them go to town either. That would be awkward. Just let them create.
Yep. But, so we will see you guys next month. Hit the subscribe button and poke the little bell there, and you can subscribe and get updates when we post new videos. And next month we'll be doing our little koi wood project, and we'll see you then. And also just something, a little reminder too, is that if you do stumble across this and you really enjoy it and you would like to participate, we're doing this for free. So, you know, it really helps us out if you subscribe or purchase some materials from us. It helps us be able to keep the videos going. The videos are free, yeah. Videos are free, yeah. But the materials are what help support that. So, yeah, you know, it's not, you know, we got to buy... We have equipment and stuff that we have to maintain and stuff like that. And so it's, yeah. Are you whining about... I'm not. I've just been watching a lot of YouTube and everybody points it out. It's true. So anyway, we'll see you guys next month. We'll post when our next video is going to be. Hopefully it'll be soon. We'll do like an in-between video before we do the actual GoBox project. We'll get something going. I think definitely I'll get a... Art of Seeing video up in the next couple of weeks. Because I think you said that last time. I did, but then we've been too busy. But I do have time in the next couple of weeks to be able to do that. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Cheers to you guys. Much cheers love. To us. Cheers to painting. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Adios. Adios.